Hey everyone, Dave with Gen3D Tech here. Today we're going to be checking out a mouse from a company you may never heard of. That company's name is Darmoshark, and this is the N3 Wireless. This is one of the most surprising mice of 2022 for me, and at $66 and a 33.95 sensor, coming in at only 58 grams, it definitely packs a punch. So stick around because you're going to like this review. So without further ado, let's get into it. And first off, I'd like to thank Mech Keys for providing the sample for this review. It's very much appreciated. It's my first time dealing with him as a reviewer, but I have in the past been a customer buying keyboard parts mostly. I just happened to be on their site and I saw this mouse and I hadn't seen this anywhere before and it looked very interesting and I thought, what the heck, I'll go ahead and ask them, and sure enough, they agreed to send me a mouse. Anyways, like I mentioned in the intro, this mouse has got a 3395 sensor. It's got KL 8.0 switches. The black one comes in at 58 grams on my scale, and the white one 59 grams, which is pretty typical. The white typically weighs about a gram more with the paint. And you get all of this for only $66, which is definitely a tremendous value. It's definitely the cheapest 33.95 sensor mouse. I do believe, though, there are some parts of the world you might be able to get the Aria for a little bit less, but lately I've been seeing it in the $70 range. But this is definitely in competition for most people price-wise. Especially, you can probably get this on Amazon occasionally, and you'll end up with a little bit cheaper shipping. Shipping is going to be run you about $10 to the United States. I don't know what it is for other countries. And from my experience ordering stuff from there, it can take 7 to 10 days. So keep that in mind. It is going to take a little bit longer. It has to clear customs, and it's going to cost a little bit more. But $10 is pretty reasonable compared to some places. And also, in that amount of time is not that bad either. I've ordered things from like Mac Gaming, for example, and it's taken 4 weeks. So that's not that bad. It's better than AliExpress also. And check out their store. They got quite a bit of other mice, and if you're into mechanical keyboards, they got a ton of great stuff. And there's actually a couple other mice that they have on that store that I'm gonna maybe take a look at because I haven't seen those in the States. Anyways, the box is pretty colorful, as you can see, and you don't get a whole lot of extras in the box. You get a nice paracord cable and a dongle with the USB adapter. This is for the white one, and then the black one's obviously black. The scroll wheel has got kind of a rubber coating on it, very tactile feeling. I like the scroll wheel quite a bit. As you can see, it's black on both. Top DPI button, side buttons are pretty snappy. There's a bit of pre and post travel on the rear. The white one's a little bit better. So sometimes there is a little variance. Side play, it's actually pretty good. Yeah, there's hardly any side play on the black copy. Now, on the bottom, you do have this little door that opens up that you can store your dongle in. And this is also Bluetooth. Obviously, use it at 2.4 gigahertz, and you can plug it in the USB-C port and use it wired. The battery is got about 20 hours of gaming time, and then if you just use it normally, about 30 hours. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not the best for sure. Now, the one thing that I'm not crazy about are the skates. These black PTFE skates are very similar like the ones on the Deluxe M800. So I'm hoping that there'll be some third-party skates for these. And just as a test, I went ahead and on the white copy installed Infinity Mice Sapphire skates. So I'll kind of talk about those too. So this is almost a little mini review of those also. There's get a close look of the skates. So I did 3 down here and 2 up there. Now, I do find that with these dots that your glide is a bit better, but it also depends on the pad. So like this pad right here is a pretty slow pad, and you get a little bit more speed out of these PTFE feet. And these dots are not as good on this pad, but I've been using a lot of like glass infused pads with these 2 mice lately. The Esport Tiger Wuzang X, and then the new Vancer Ice V2. The dots work really good on those pads, but I didn't have any else complaints about these either. I mean, they're not terrible, but I am hoping that there'll be some third-party skates for these eventually, especially if this mouse becomes popular, which I'm hoping it will, because it is a really good mouse. Now, shape-wise, it's very interesting. As you can see, it's round over here and somewhat flat over here. There's a little hump right there, but it's definitely bigger on the right side. And the front, it's a little reminiscent of, let's say, like the G Wolves Hottie S and the glorious Series 1 Pro. So technically these are ergonomic mice, but I will say it is very slight feeling in the hand. So even though it's ergonomic, it's not like super ergonomic, if that makes sense. So if you're someone who likes symmetrical mice and or ergonomic mice, I think it'll appeal to most people. The other thing about this mouse is it is a little bit reminiscent of the Dave, the Death Adder V3. Somewhat. Size-wise, it's very similar to the Pulsar X2 Medium, as you can see. Height-wise, it is taller than the X2. And then width-wise, it's definitely thinner. So if you're one of those people who find the X2 too wide, this is definitely thinner right here in the middle. As you can see, it curves in on both ends, and you get that real nice locked in feeling. And it's very thick on the back here, and it really fills out your palm. So as you can see, you get a really nice locked in feeling. So you can do a nice relaxed palm, aggressive palm. If you have small enough hands, you can definitely palm this. Fingertip too. Again, this is a pretty light mouse. This is again 59 grams, 58 grams. So like I said, the Aria, even though it advertised at 59 grams, that's with the shell off. So I think in this configuration, it's closer to 63. Of course, there's lots of mice that are down in the 50s now. But again, for the price at $66, which is definitely a bargain, what you get in this mouse is quite a deal, I believe. For me, though, the shape is what's the best thing about this mouse. I really enjoy the shape, and the build quality of the mouse, it's a very solid. No rattling, no shaking. I mean, I wouldn't say it is the very best, but it's definitely above average. And again, for the price, you get a really nice mouse. The clicks, it's very clicky and tactile, very spammable. You can actuate it all the way up and down. The scroll wheel button is very spammable. I really like the middle mouse button. And where the side buttons are, I think they're perfect. They feel real natural. You don't have to lift your finger too high or too low. They're just in the right spot. And again, I'm not going to say these are the best side buttons actuation wise, but they're not terrible. I think they're actually just slightly above average. And as far as coding goes, if you're familiar with the Aria, it's got a very similar coding to the Aria and a very similar coding to the GPX. It has just a slight amount of texture, but it's very nice and comfortable and not too slick. Again, the way it locks in, you won't have any trouble lifting this mouse if you're someone who lifts the mouse a lot. But I very much enjoy the Surface. Now, I've been using these mice for a couple weeks now, and I put a lot of time into them. The black one, like I said, it does weigh a gram less, and that's the one I probably use the most until I put the sapphire skates on there. And like I said, the sapphire skates on most pads does improve the feel of it, but there's really nothing wrong with these skates. They're just not premium, is all. You know, they're good. They're just not great, and I really do hope there'll be some third-party skates for these, but I can't guarantee it. And again, the shape is just really great for this mouse, and game performance wise, I definitely did really well in game, and it's just been a favorite of mine. When I've done messing with other mice for reviews, I keep going back to these mice. Now, I've tested a bunch of just like budget Chinese mice in the past, and most of the time I've been not impressed with what I found. Usually they're substandard or subpar, or they're just, okay for the money. So when I had these coming to me, I really didn't have a huge amount of hope for these, but I can honestly say I was very pleasantly surprised right off the get go. Just the quality of the packaging and the presentation, and then how the mouse feels in hand and how it performs. And then when you consider that it's only $66, and it's fair to say 76 with shipping, but that's not outlandish. There's a lot of places that are in the United States that'll charge you that or more. So the one thing, like I said, it may take over a week to get to it. So if you're in a hurry, maybe not the best option, but if you're willing to wait a little bit, it might be worthwhile. Now, like I said, if you really want a $33.95 sensor mouse, the two best options, if you're on a budget under $70, is the Aria and the Darmoshark N3. They're both great mice. It really comes down to shape, because both of the performance of the mice are really good, and they have good switches and just good build quality. And this, as is an egg-shaped mouse, and I think while I like it and it fits me really well, I think these egg-shaped mice are a little bit more niche, and if you like them, then you're really gonna like it. But I think the N3 is a little bit safer shape that more people are gonna like on average. So if I had to recommend one of the two, again, if you're on a budget under $70, I would say the N3 right now is the best buy on the market for under $70. If you've only got under $50 to spend, then of course the Deluxe M800 Pro that comes in at typically $45 or less is still one of the best buys on the market. 3370 sensor, really good shape. It is quite a bit heavier than these though, but again, it's only $45. And lastly, I'll throw in this mouse too. It's the Coolmaster MM712. I'll be having a review on this real soon. This mouse is $70, 3370 sensor. Very lightweight. I don't remember right offhand what it is, but it's definitely on par, and shape-wise, it's really good. Fits in your hand really well. It's not a big mouse. But these 4 mice right here, I'm not intentionally trying to do a video on like budget wireless mice, but all 4 of these mice are the best, in my opinion, under $70 mice. And like I said, this is best under 50. And you know, shape wise, this one is really good, and surprisingly the build quality is really good. Now I would have liked this to have been a 3395 sensor, especially when it comes in at a little bit more than these other 2 mice. But if I had to pick just the overall best bang for the buck, and you want the latest in mouse technology, it's really hard to beat the Darmoshark N3. It's a very surprising mouse to me, and in 2022, coming in late, it's just a banger of a mouse, and you can't go wrong with this mouse for sure. And the shape is really awesome. I haven't seen this exact shape anywhere. It's like a combination of shapes. That's the thing that's best about this mouse. If you don't like KL 8.0s, then you know maybe that's something you won't like. But there's nothing great about KL 8.0s. They're not my favorite, but there's nothing wrong with them either. And I will say the implementation of these 8.0s is really good. The only other person who I know has these mice is Fresh from Fresh Reviews, mostly because I kept bugging him to check it out, and he did, and so far he had positive things to say about it, so I'm glad I'm not the only one who ended up liking it. So one of the things I like to do on this channel is try and find diamonds in the rough, and I'm always scouring all over the place to try and find interesting products for you guys to check out, and maybe something you didn't know about, or you've seen only a little bit information about it. And I try and cover those things in hopes that maybe the people will notice them and they'll start to sell, or we can get them available over in the US. Again, while this isn't available in the US, you can get it from Mech Keys, and I'll have a link in the description if you want to buy a mouse from there. I don't have an affiliate code or anything, so I got no skin in the game, other than I think it's a really good mouse, and if you're looking for a deal, then yeah, I highly recommend this mouse for sure, especially if you look at the shape and you're very interested in the shape, or if you're a mouse collector and you haven't tried something like this, then yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. Now, of course, if you got more money to spend, there are better mice on the market that are like in that, $80, $90, $100, $200 range. But for under $70, sitting at $66, it's just a steal, I think. One other thing too, like I said, you can get these sapphire dots from Infinity Mice, and they are really high quality, and I'll have a link in the description if you're interested in those too. They are a little bit expensive, so if you don't want to spend that kind of money, BTL makes dots. I haven't tried them yet, but I do have some that I can try out on this, and Tiger Ice is also coming out with dots, and they're going to have them 4 different sizes. And even though the dots are really small, I've been pretty surprised, because I've been using my leech out mice, and they're very surprising. I like them quite a bit. So even though there isn't third-party skates right out the bat, you can definitely try using dots if you don't end up liking these skates. And you do get an extra set of these skates, so if you do wear them down and you're okay with them, there is an extra set in the box. So in conclusion, I do highly recommend the Darmoshark at $66. For me, it's one of the best bangs for the buck in 2022, and going forward, it'll be a good buy in 2023. So hopefully you enjoyed this review, and if you did, please leave a like and a sub if you haven't already. If not, no big deal. And keep checking back, because I got a bunch more reviews. I'm just going to be hammering them out, trying to get them out before the end of the year. And I'll have a special top gaming mice where I'm going to have some cameos from other creators, and that should be an interesting video. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.